you're scared of AI taking over and you lose your job in the next 5 to 10 years, well, my friend, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but most likely, if you think about it, you already are in trouble. Now, this is a not controversial argument, but it's just science. Like you can simply see from when, for example, I discovered ChatGPT in late 2020 up to now, 2026. This is how the graph went, like a hockey stick. I don't know if you guys can see. So that's how the implementation goes. And this is for most industries. So it starts very slowly, and then at a certain point, so it's either you jump on the ride before it spikes up, or you jump on the ride before it spikes up. Because by the time it spikes up, there's going to be people like, I don't want to say me, myself, and I, but I know how to use AI better than 90% of most people. Common guy. Get 10 people, I will outperform them in AI. So this is the topic of the video. If you're scared of being replaced, most likely you will get replaced. But it depends on how you look at it and how you perceive it in your mind. So you ain't gotta look at it as AI will simply take over the jobs. It's not gonna be like this. It's not gonna be a bunch of Robocops just going around and doing like marketing and advertising. No. It's going to be people that know how to use the Robocop that's going to implement and make the work go extremely faster or make them more money. Because as of now, let's look at accounting, my department. So in accounting, standard business is now whenever you are a huge conglomerate, you need a finance officer, you need somebody for account payable, somebody for account receivable, somebody for year-end accounts, somebody to do your analysis, somebody to manage your portfolio for what like properties. They need like a general accountant that overviews these guys, or you gotta outsource it to somebody else. So you see how many accountants you need just to run a company. You need one guy that makes payments, one guy that track payments, one guy that check your year-end accounts, one guy that does your monthly reconciliation, another guy that does the weekly reconciliation, then one guy that does the payroll. So you see how many people you need. It's a bunch of money and a bunch of cash burned. But if you can compartmentalize all these into just one guy checking that the system knows how to do everything correctly, you just need one person. So this is the options. This is the option that you have. Instead of having 10 people in the accounting department, you simply need one guy that knows how to use artificial intelligence and the new technology we have in 2026 and onwards, and just do the whole job and just swipe them up. Good. So it's either you're on option number one, or you master the system, you master the machine, and become option number two, irreplaceable. Because the machine cannot really run itself. It can, but I'm going to describe this slightly after in the video. Or you can look at AI just like a Tesla. Tesla, yes, self-driving, true. But at the same time, you still need a driver to be in the car, just look at the road. You ain't gotta do anything. You simply need to sit down and chill. Just press it, and the car goes. In case the car was to make a wrong turn, you can like, oh, okay, so you're not fully that intelligent, are you? You can't see the pole, do you? But I can. That's what you need. But most people won't even get to the point where they sit in the car. But then some people will get to sit in the car, but they simply fall asleep. And if you fall asleep, assuming the AI is 100% perfect, yeah. Now let's talk about the point number two in this video, aka those that actually know how to use it still don't know how to use it. I was about to call them, how can I rephrase it in a nice way? Room level IQ. Most people are treating AI like AI is this masterpiece of conglomerate intelligence like Aladdin. It is, but it's a child. I'll give you a different point of view. Look at AI just like a kid. A 4 years old is not toddler anymore. A 4 years old child that is extremely smart, smarter than Einstein, knows how to do everything, but he's still a child. Would you leave a child do something like, I don't know, build a house, for example? Or would you leave a child just play with the socket? Of course not. But he knows the electricity, he knows everything, he knows how to build the socket, he knows how to connect it to the power grid, he knows how this power grid is coming from, how the energy is, but he's still a child. So he's gonna end up just sticking something in it and then electrocuting himself. That's how you need to look at AI. So I was working on a task the other day because all these news about Claude came out, and then I actually tried it. I compared Claude, GPT, Manus, and Google Gemini. The results were bamboozled. I was bamboozled. By the way, Claude is the best, but it depends on what. Depends on what. Do not assume one system is good at everything. No. Everything has the pros, everything has the cons. If you like electric, you buy a Tesla. If you don't like to drive, you still buy a Tesla, self-driving. If you like huge engines, you buy a V8. You can't like huge engines and end up buying a Tesla. It doesn't make any sense, right? Cool. If you like fast torque, you still buy a Tesla. If you like the pops and bangs, you buy a V8 with downpipe. You see what I'm saying? Now they understand that. Cool. GPT let me down. Let me completely down. But Claude completely surprised me. So the task I was working on was the property investment calculator. So you input the details of the property, the financials, then it tells you the project is viable, and then it compares different options to turn in the property. For example, there's a house for 700,000. That was the example I was doing. Then it gives you everything: the down payment, then the mortgage term, the interest rate. Then if you're trying to remortgage it after the project is completed, it gives you one figure. If you're trying to turn it into a short-term accommodation like Airbnb, it gives another figure. If you're trying to turn it into HMO, it gives another figure. If you simply trying to rent it out, it gives a figure. If you're trying to flip it, gives a figure, right? Cool. So if I was to give this task to a random guy or somebody that perhaps knows how to use the machine but doesn't really know how to use the machine, this is this part of the video. They will simply go there and be like, "Hi, ChatGPT or Claude, can you please provide me a calculator of property investment? I will give you price of the property, give me how much stamp duty, how much legal fees, how much down payment, then how much I can make based on how many amount of room, then occupancy rate for Airbnb, then HMO fees, all this, all that, all that." Now, you might look at me right now and be like, "Okay, isn't this what I need?" Wrong. The answer is no. This is what I need, but this is not how you tell the machine that you need this. Because the machine knows, but garbage in equals garbage out. If you input garbage into the machine will give you big garbage, extremely huge garbage, so big that you never thought this garbage was possible. So there were things where I'll look at, obviously by now I kind of know. I'm not claiming I'm the best, but I'm better than most people. I'm not the best, but I'm better than most people because I understand how this thing operates. I kind of understand by now how to prompt stuff and I understand how the machine operates. So you can't just wake up and I can't just tell the machine be a music producer if I don't know what a music producer does. Because if I assume the machine knows better than a music producer, it kind of does, but not everything. You can tell it, "Yeah, please act like a music producer and tell me what I need to be a music producer." It will give you the surface level, top of the iceberg. But at the top of the iceberg, that's where most people get stuck. In my previous video, we talked about the Pareto principle, 80-20, right? 80% of people will just be like, "Oh yeah, tell me how to be a music producer." It's the remaining 20% of the people that first thing first, you need to go do your own research about what a music producer does, what are the tasks, how much they get paid. Listen, my interest, everything first. How much something earns you. There's no such thing as my passion. If your passion doesn't pay you money, it's a waste of time, right? Because time equals money. Spoke about in another video. So you need to go understand everything related to that task, and then you can convey accordingly to AI. Because going back to my example for the property investment, there's small things that unless you are in the industry, you kind of don't know before flipping a property. So if you was to get a mortgage on it, let's say 600,000 mortgage, the first 2 years, they might give a fixed rate of 5%. Okay, cool. So the figures are making a lot of sense. But then after 2 years, the mortgage, the rate becomes fluctuable, variable. It might go from 5 to 7%. So that difference in 2% can screw up your numbers. But unless you knew and you told the machine would have never thought about it. It would have not assumed that you're smart enough to know that. That means the machine is not smart enough to know either. So all your figures will come out messed up because it didn't calculate the fact that after 2 years, then from fixed to variable, the interest rate will change. Or for example, if you get a bridging loan for that, different, right? So these are the small intricacies. Or another one, I'll give you an example, stamp duty. If you tell the machine, I will give you property price, then based on that, you need to calculate stamp duty, then calculate legal fees, surveyor fees, and then give me the total. Then I give you the deposit amount, give me the percentage of the deposit amount, then do the calculation and tell me how much I owe every single month after 25 years of mortgage, right? You're forgetting one thing for the stamp duty. Depending on how you buy the property, the stamp duty is calculated differently. If you buy on personal and if you buy on corporate, it's different. At the same time, if you buy on personal, but it's your first time, it's different. But if you buy on personal, but it's a second house, it's different. If you buy on personal, but it's an additional house, it's different. Same for the company. If you buy a company, what is it? The standard for the companies when they're not eligible for any deductions. I know the right word is not deduction, right? 17%. So if I was forecasting that property at 700,000 and just told the machine, yeah, this is how much stamp duty calculate, it comes to like 50 grand, is incorrect. Because the actual stamp duty for that property would have been 119 grand. But the only way I would know is I need to know everything in advance and let it remind the machine. Whenever you do your calculation, you need to consider that is it a company or an individual? And if it's a company, depending on if we get any, the right word is escaping my mind right now. Let me just call it allowable deductions for accounting purposes. If we are eligible, then we might get discounted rate on the stamp duty. If you're not eligible, it's capped at 17% on top. So you need to know the small, fine intricacies to let the machine know. But you only know if you know this. So you can't really outsource the job unless you do the job first. This was one of my old videos talking about marketing. So most people just come in the game and think, you know what, I can just outsource everything to a VA in the Philippines and not know how to do call calls, or not know how to go through sales calls, or not know how to do the service delivery, or don't even know how to scrape the leads and get the leads from. No, it doesn't work like this. Because if you outsource it straight to the VA won't know either. They might have done it for somebody else, but any niche industry is different. If you're trying to call roofers and if you're trying to call dentists, it's different, because the dentist most likely has a secretary. So now you need to go through the secretary to get to the decision maker. And most of the time, the decision maker is there fixing teeth. So you perhaps never get to them. And if you try to pitch the secretary, they'll be like, yeah, I'll call them. I'll let you know, they're going to call you later. Never going to happen. But if you try to call a roofer, depending on the time of the day, ideally you want to call them after work hour, because they always got a phone on them. And most of the times, they are the decision maker, but they also work in the field. Unless you get into big roofing companies where they actually have, let's say, assistants and offices, most of them actually have the phone in their hand. So when you call them, it's straight to the guy, so you can pitch him. So unless you knew this and you tell your VA just make assumption and be like, okay, I can just use the same pitch for the roofer to the dentist industry, but it won't work. You need to know your industry about 80% before trying to outsource it. Same works for VAs, same works for AI. You need to know your maps. You need to know your whatever you're trying to outsource before giving it to the machine. And once you give it to the machine, it's all about iteration, because it's never going to be perfect. At the first time, it might look perfect, but yeah. And that's where the laziness comes in, because most people, I'm talking just based on everything I see, my friends, people I work with, I see how they utilize it. And everything is about improvement, right? In my previous video, we spoke about how it don't matter when you get into a specific industry to sell a product or a service, is how long it takes you to bring implementation. It's how long it takes you to bring new stuff or better stuff into the market to capitalize better than most people. Because most people, even let's say work, most people go to work and work just hard enough not to get fired. They don't do the extra mile because they don't see the pay in it. So why would you? Well, kind of true. Why would you do free work? But in this life, free work is a must. Although it doesn't get you paid, it gives you more XP points, like Clash Royale or any video game. The harder you work on it, the more you play on it, the more XP you play on it, the more unlocking the GTA map you get. And there's a certain point when you unlock so much of a big map that you can kind of see why people are still stuck on the small map. But you get a better field of view. You get to see, okay, now this is how not to be like most people. This is how to outpace most people. So it's all about implementation. How fast can you bring the implementation equals how fast you can capitalize, how much more money you can make better than most people. They've been there for like 10 years. AI came into the industry. Let's say, where is it? Technological industry, IT industry. In the space of alpha decade, disrupted everything. And that's how you need to look at yourself. So, moral of the video. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people that's going to be replaced by artificial intelligence. But don't think they just get fired. Well, mainly, yeah. I give you the accounting example. From needing 5 to 10 accountants that do 5 to 10 different roles, all you need is one person. They actually know how to use a very good software, let's say QuickBooks or Xero or whatever. And they can simply do everything. But it takes one person that knows everything first to be able to manage the system that knows everything. This goes back to what I was talking after. You can't just give the job to account payable guy, assuming him to know how to run year-end accounts, right? It doesn't work like this. If his whole life is just done account payable, how can you tell him to do account receivable? How can you tell him to do this? How can you tell him to do that? It doesn't work like this. You need to give it to somebody who's been everywhere and has it. It doesn't need to know everything about it, but simply enough to know about it. You don't need to fill the bucket to the brim. No, just enough to have water in the bucket. So this is the moral of the video. If you don't want to get a place, at least I get to learning these things. And if you think artificial intelligence is just fluff, well, nah, bro. Google is investing 185 billions in technology. Where is it? This year alone. You know how much that is? 185 billions. That's almost Jeff Bezos' net worth in 1 year. Obviously, they got the money, huge conglomerate. But they should tell you, in this life, I don't want to switch too much. Always follow the money. Look at this. Always follow the money. It doesn't matter if it's a crime scene. It doesn't matter if it's financial fraud. It doesn't matter if it's political fraud. It doesn't matter if it's business. It doesn't matter if your friend took out £5 of your pocket. Always follow the money. Wherever the money is moving, that's where the safe bet is. If Google invests 185 billions into ChatGPT, I would have been like, you know what? Why am I looking at Claude? I need to go into ChatGPT. Obviously, that doesn't mean it's going to make it better, or that doesn't mean it's a good product. But I see where they're dropping a huge amount of money, and none of these companies will actually drop money in something like a dead horse. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. At the financial department, we look at every single pound and be like, this makes money. Because that's our job, the financiers. Always follow the money. And that's the end of the video. I hope I inspired you. And if I didn't inspire you, well, amen. If I'm wrong on something, bless, please let me down in the comments so I can, I can have a different perspective. Maybe I might miss something, or maybe not. Maybe I might forgot to include something, or maybe not. Maybe you have a different take. Just drop it down in the comments, because that's how you improve. It's all about implementation and improvement. What did they say? They say practice, practice, practice make perfect. No, it doesn't. It's not practicing, because you can practice the same crap every single day. It doesn't mean you get better. Sorry, lights went off. Okay, I'm done. You can practice the same crap every single day, but that won't change anything. It's all about implementation, revision, feedback. You practice it today. Practice how to write today, but the writing is bad. So if I keep on practicing the same writing, how can I improve my writing? Of course I can't. No. I need to look at this and be like, okay, I need to make the M slightly more curvaceous, if that's even a word, to make it look way better. Then the O, instead of not closing the O, I need to make a perfect O like Einstein. Implementation, execution, feedback. Then just a cycle again. So yeah, that's it.